Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Sports Legends of the Carolinas. I'm your host, Scott Fowler, sports columnist for the Charlotte Observer, where I've worked since 1994. And as always in this podcast, I'm traveling across the Carolinas and beyond, seeking out some of my very favorite sports legends. In this episode, we've traveled all the way down to sunny Miami to catch up with Alonzo Mourning, the former Charlotte Hornets star.
This is not my day. This is everyone whose selflessness I spend every day trying to repay. I am not supposed to be on this stage, considering what life threw at me. The only reason I did survive is because of God's grace.
Mourning is one of the greatest players in the history of two NBA franchises, the Hornets, who drafted him, and the Miami Heat, with whom he won an NBA championship in 2006.
I'm going to be extremely transparent, to everybody out there listening. I was willing to take a lot less money than I received in Miami to stay.
A 7-time NBA All-Star and 2-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, the player nicknamed Zoe was also a college star at Georgetown under John Thompson. Zoe was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2014 in his first year of eligibility. He now works for the Miami Heat as the team's Vice President of Player Programming. Drafted by the Hornets in 1992 with the number 2 overall pick, Alonzo Mourning spent 3 productive years in Charlotte before the team traded him to Miami during a salary dispute. It was an infamous deal that Hornets fans still bemoan to this day, and one that Mourning says in this podcast maybe never needed to be done in the first place. Alonzo Mourning, next on Sports Legends of the Carolinas. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'd like to start really with you growing up a little bit. I'm not sure people know, at least not current Hornets fans, probably know the story of how you were raised and where you were raised.
Right. Well, born in Norfolk, Virginia. Mom had 5 sisters and 5 brothers, and my dad had 2 sisters. So we had a pretty big family down there. Fast forward, around 8 years old, I moved to Chesapeake, and we moved out there. My mom and dad, ended up getting a divorce, and they went their separate ways. They had some serious issues at that time, which affected me mentally and emotionally, and so I had to make some decisions for myself. And I fell into the foster care system, and got picked up by a woman by the name of Fanny Threet, very angelic woman, fostered 49 kids in her lifetime. So living in that group home for almost a year, and then Miss Threet taking me in, that brought me to another part of Chesapeake, and ended up going to Indian River High School. I was 12 years old, started junior high school there. I went to Indian River High School and ended up becoming number 1 high school player in the country, and a lot of that was due to Fanny's tutelage, and helping me understand the responsibilities of being a man. And she's a very faith-based woman, so she instilled that in me as well, understand the importance of the blessings that God has given us on a regular basis, and appreciating that and doing something with your blessings by blessing others. So she was also a very giving woman, and she was a retired school teacher. So education was a priority. All of that she instilled in me. Finding a woman like Fanny Threet being a part of her life, was the structure that she provided at that particular time, And then also my high school coach, Bill Lassiter, and my JV coach, Coach Spellman and Coach Lassane, all these black men, these caring black men that I needed at that time, because my father wasn't really consistent in my life. He would come and see me, but Ms. Threet encouraged my parents to come see me, but my coaches were the father figures for me. They were extremely instrumental, and they kept me in line. They saw the potential. They disciplined me. And it all paid off. It really did. It was truly a blessing. Fast forward, I ended up being the number one high school player in the country. Boo Williams played in his little AAU circuit, gave me the exposure that I needed, and which elevated me to that status. And then, I chose Georgetown University.
Was that a difficult choice?
No, it was not. It wasn't. Obviously, I had a lot of different options. And then recruiting obviously has changed tremendously. Back then it was really boots on the ground. They used to show up at the house and knock on the door and send in letters and packages and all of that stuff. Now it's a little different now. But I tell you, narrowing my list down to 5 schools: Maryland, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, and Georgetown. All great universities, and great basketball programs at that time, and you had all these coaches come and, give their pitch. Big John Thompson, God rest his soul, he wanted to be the last to make his pitch. So all the other coaches came. They started to Bob Wade, Bobby Crimmins, Terry Holland, Boeheim. They all said, hey, we're going to give him this, and he's going to have this, and he's going to start, and da-da-da-da, and just talking about all these different accolades I was going to receive without even having to work. So Big John came, and he looked Miss Threed in the eye, and he said, look, Miss Threed, he said, he's got to work for everything he gets. If he wants to start, he's got to earn it. He said, but I'll promise you this, if he comes to my university, he's going to graduate. That put her over the top. So she looked at me. She's like, I know where you're going. You're going to Georgetown. Because none of the other coaches said that.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So obviously that was one of Big John's priorities with all of his kids, is to make sure they went to class. And he mandated that, and he punished us if we did not go to class. And there was consequences and repercussions, if we did not prioritize our education. So, which is why he had a high graduation rate. I didn't realize exactly what he was doing as a coach. It wasn't just basketball for him. It was teaching us about life, understanding responsibilities and accountability, and knowing that we was going to need that moving forward once the ball stopped bouncing.
Ball for Georgetown for the Hoyas. And, of course, the man that we mentioned off the top of the telecast, Alonzo Mourning, the 6'10", 240-pound junior, Chesapeake, Virginia, played at Indian River, and he is their go-to guy inside. And, of course, the head coach, 19th year at Georgetown, John Thompson, 426 wins.
As I've gotten older, I understood everything that he was doing, and implementing that as much as I can into other children's lives when I speak to them and what have you, and also my 2 sons, and helping them understand the importance.
How old are they now?
They're 14, 14 and 27. Yeah, doing good. But very grateful and thankful for all the seeds that were planted in me by all those coaches and those people, those teachers and coaches, because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. Fortunate,
weren't you, in some ways? I mean, to have those people in your lives.
Extremely fortunate, yeah.
So you come to the Hornets, and you were number 2 overall draft pick in '92.
Entering the arena now to the applause of the 8,000 here as you look at his family and friends. Charlotte's already an exciting place to watch NBA basketball. When this gentleman suits up there, it'll get even wilder.
What were your impressions of the Charlotte Hornets before you ever got here?
Well, you know what? The exciting team, the colors, very vibrant. People were attracted to the new kids on the block, portrayal of the new thing and new franchise and exciting and grandmama,
right?
And little Muggsy and I was like, wow, I could help that team, and little did I know, I didn't realize I was going to have the impact on the team like I did. And I didn't realize the fan support, the fan base, the love that we received in Carolina, because obviously Carolina is a basketball state, and I just didn't understand the impact that we would have on that Carolina community, but it was an exciting 3 years that I was there.
It was Charlotte Museum of History right now. It's a 35-year exhibit of the Hornets' greatest hits, more or less. The greatest hit, the centerpiece of that entire exhibit, is your shot in 1993 in the playoffs. That is remembered still as the best moment, I guess you'd say, in Charlotte Hornets history. So if you would, take me through that shot as much as you do remember now.
Well, I remember it clearly.
Okay.
There's nothing foggy about it. The play was drawn up to either get the ball to LJ or Dell. We were trying to get it to Dell inbounding the ball, and he was supposed to get it again if we couldn't get to LJ. And when I caught it, I was wide open, and the clock was running down, so I had to let it fly,
Mourning for the win! Alonzo Mourning, the biggest shot of his life.
The way it all materialized, it was kind of instinctual, because I wasn't known for my jump shooting at Georgetown. But when I got to the league, I started expanding my game out a little bit. So those mid-range shots were shots that I was very confident in taking because I used to shoot them in practice and everything. The three-point line, wasn't as prevalent back then. It says a lot when you really prepare. Preparation gets you ready for opportunity. It truly does. And in the gym, constantly taking those shots like that from the top of the key, from the elbow, from the baseline. These are shots that I worked on a regular, So through all of that preparation, that opportunity came, instincts kicked in. So I caught it, and I pretty much just let it fly. And, I think the basketball guys that it went in the hole, I just let it fly, followed through. And once I saw it going through the hole, I just fell back. Yeah.
What was that aftermath like?
Oh, man, it was such an exhilarating moment. It really was, because not only obviously I was happy I made the shot, but I was happy for the fans. You could just feel, no pun intended, but you could feel the buzz. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could feel the buzz around the arena, and it was just so exciting, So I'm happy to have been a part of, a small part of Hornets history. I wish that was something that we could have grown, because I felt like, we had a nucleus of guys, that we could have, all you had to do is over the years just put more pieces around us, some special things could have happened, but, basketball management didn't see it that way. But the long and short of it is, it was an incredible ride with the short period of time we were there, and it kind of created momentum for the franchise. It really did.
It did. And they were good, even for a while after you left, and have hit some hard times recently.
Y'all ended up getting Glenn Rice when I left, and Vlade, and y'all had a good team, man.
They won. They had some 50-win seasons there for a couple of years.
Baron Davis.
But most Hornets fans consider you the great one that got away. Like the one that if you had stayed, we did an interview like this with Muggsy not long ago. He said if we had kept that band together.
We just had some great players and unbelievable times where we could have done something special if we all would have kept that band together. But again, things happen that I always keep saying that ugly head of the NBA shows itself and just took away something that probably could have been special.
Well,
for a long time.
They shouldn't have traded Zoe, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, Zoe was the first domino. He was the first one. And when that happened, and he was a key part because he was a franchise center that was desperately needed in a lot of franchises. And being able to lose him to Miami was very heartbroken.
I think that's what you're saying a little bit. So as I know you've addressed this a little before, but the reason you left, do you think, was basically they had paid Larry and weren't willing to pay you enough?
They didn't want to make the investment.
Yeah.
And what's so crazy is, I'm going to be extremely transparent, to everybody out there listening. I was willing to take a lot less money that I received in Miami.
Really?
To stay.
Mm.
But when I was told by management that I wasn't worth what I was asking, my agent at the time, David Falk, said, "You got to go." For them to even say that was insulting. He said, "You got to go." He said, "Don't even consider it anymore." He said, "You've done enough on your part because you are willing to take less." I actually wanted to take a lot less.
Really? And why would you have done that?
Because I wanted to stay in Charlotte. I did. I loved the city. I loved the fan base. It was close to Virginia. It was very close to my home. So I had family members and friends driving up. It was like a 5-hour drive, so it was perfect. But I'm going to tell you, man, I have a calendar, and I'm scheduling my everything, but God coordinates my steps. He does. And every day I look at my calendar, like, okay, well, hope it goes this way. But, well, through the grace of God, he'll direct me where I need to be on this particular day. But I miss Charlotte. I love Charlotte, but Miami was a perfect fit for me. Mm-hmm. It really was. It was a perfect fit. Yeah, when I came
couldn't
here,
have done much better here. Yeah,
and then I had the perfect basketball architect, and Pat Riley. Yeah. And he had so many similarities as John Thompson. Defensive minded, all about preparation. It's like, wow, this is a match made in heaven. So we kind of settled in, and a lot of good things happened like right away.
Yeah. Right away.
Yeah, right away.
We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. You had a ton of great moments here. What would you consider some of the highlights in Miami?
Well, the one that stands out the most is June 20th, 2006.
We, on behalf of millions and tens of millions of basketball fans around the world, say to you, congratulations, Miami Heat, 2006 NBA champions.
That moment alone, understanding that was the first franchise, the first championship in franchise history, and to be a part of that and how we did it, being down 0-2 in the finals and then come back and win 4 games in a row.
Against Dallas?
Against Dallas, yeah. And how we did it was pretty special.
Incredible team, and I think a lot of people have forgotten that you and Shaq ended up teaming up.
Yeah,
we and Shaq. How was that?
Shaq.
Yeah.
For us to be 2 alpha males coming into the league, really, butting heads against each other for years and years, we would have never thought in our wildest dreams we would be teammates and we would be winning a championship. And the year before that, Christian Laettner, he was on the team with us as well. And I would be willing to bet that's probably the first time in the history of the NBA that the first, second, and third pick of a draft were all on the same team together. Yeah. But that's how it all worked out. We were up in age, and Pat Riley, brought us all together, man. It was pretty special. It really was.
D-Wade, if I remember, had a pretty spectacular
Well,
series.
D-Wade had a finals for the history books.
Mm-hmm.
He really did. As that type of performance will probably go down as one of the top 5 best finals performances by a player.
Wade can go into the backcourt. Wade on the drive, double teamed. Wade looking for an opening. He's fouled. Shot won't go, but he will shoot 2 with 1.9 remaining. Tie game. Heat lead.
Yeah, it was incredible, and we needed every bit of it. But we had an incredible supporting cast as well, and everybody contributed on monumental levels at certain times, of the series. Gary hit a shot here in Miami. It was his only bucket of the game. So Gary Payton, Hall of Famer, and he hit a shot. So there was different contributions, man.
Wow, y'all had a lot of Hall of Famers in that team.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We had quite a few. Yeah.
Well, it's a miracle in a way that you played in that series, right? Because only 3 or 4 years before you had this life-threatening kidney.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you think about life, every now and then, you go through life and you're dealt with some type of obstacles or challenges or speed bumps, as you might say. And my speed bump was a health-related issue that came out of nowhere, a genetic issue. Focal segmental glomerulosclerosis is a disease that is it's genetic, and it scars the filters of the kidney. Slowly does it, and as it scars, you lose kidney function, and ultimately you need a transplant, So it's like out of all the things, at that particular time I was diagnosed, I was on top of the world, man. I was first team All-NBA. We had just won the gold medal. Defensive Player of the Year that year. I was an All-Star. I just witnessed the birth of my second child. It was like, wow, and everything came crashing down, and I didn't start feeling sorry for myself at the time. I knew that, regardless of what I was going through, there's so many other people out there that had it worse than I did, So immediately I just asked God, I said, just give me the direction. That's all I want. I didn't ask him to heal me. I just said, just give me the direction that I need because I'm lost right now. I understood the reason why I went through what I went through, and the reason being is to this day, I feel like I'm still inspiring people when I speak to people that are going through kidney-related issues, cancer-related issues, what have you, and I was able to go back out there and play and win a championship with a transplant, and it inspires people when they see other people do it.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, and I was very thankful that I had that opportunity to do that, and I was given another chance, and I was given the gift of life, and I celebrated as such. When I think about my transplant, I think about my cousin who gave me the kidney, my second cousin, and we just celebrated 20 years post transplant, December the 19th. We had a huge dinner. And
you did? That's
it was
great.
fun.
How's he doing?
He's doing great.
Good.
Yeah. It was fun. We had.
It was interesting.
Dinner.
I read about that. You didn't really know each other too well, right? When it first happened. Yeah.
So I got a big family. I told you I had all my cousins and everything, and aunts and uncles. So Jason was on my dad's side. So Jason was my grandmother's brother's son. So he was my second cousin. And the last time we had seen each other was it was 25, 27 years prior. We were babies. Yeah. Playing in New Jersey at the time for the Nets. And, it was a perfect scenario for me because, I left Miami, got picked up by the Nets. And at that particular time, they had a pretty successful team, and they had gone to the finals, back-to-back, gone to the finals. And I felt like I could add something to them, but at the same time, they took a chance with me because my kidneys were failing and I was still being monitored, practicing, but my doctors were in New York as well, so it was perfect. Demographically, it was perfect. So I needed this transplant, and I had all my friends and acquaintances come in. You know, some people I really didn't know wanted to come in and be a match, you know, and do the testing and everything, you know. So we had about 20 people come in. My uncles came in, you know, a lot of them came in. Then at that particular time, my grandmother, my dad's mom, was battling cancer. So she was in the hospital in Norfolk, Virginia. And Jason, which my grandmother was his aunt, Jason drove from New York down to Virginia. And he said, look, I just came down to see Aunt Margaret. And as he's speaking to my dad on the TV screen in the room, ESPN, Alonzo Mourning has to retire from basketball. He needs a kidney transplant. Jason looks at my dad and says, hey, you know, Alonzo doesn't know that I live in New York and I'll be back tomorrow. But if he needs me, tell him to give me a call. So my dad called me and he told me. And Jason met me at the hospital. And I didn't know how he looked. It was crazy. It was family and I didn't know how he looked.
Oh, wow.
And he walked straight up to me, introduced himself. You know, we hugged each other. And out of all the people that got tested, he was the one they chose.
That was the one.
Shortly after that, my grandmother passed. So it was amazing how my grandmother's death brought me life.
That's a remarkable story.
It was a crazy story, yeah. So, but Jason's doing great now. You know, everything's going well. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you had a big dinner of. I was just so interested in that story.
Yeah.
Was that in Miami or was that
in Miami? Yeah,
nice.
I flew him down and had a lot of people. Some of the people that friends of mine that had offered to give their kidney, I brought them in as well. Business managers, agents, all that stuff. Just people that were all a part of it that moment, you know, friends of mine, and then we all just sat at the table and it was about 30 of us. And we just celebrated it. It was a fun night.
We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. How long have you lived down here now in South Florida?
28 years.
28 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
28 years. So
Some people in Charlotte would say it was just yesterday when you left.
Yeah, tell me about it. You know, and I still get so much love when I go to Charlotte, man.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to go to Charlotte in March because Fred Whitfield has his
Hoop tea.
His Legends Dinner.
Legends Dinner. Oh,
yeah. We're really good friends.
Yeah. How did that come about?
Just participating and supporting his golf, his charity events,
a great
all
guy.
of his charitable endeavors, everything.
Yeah, we miss him. I mean, he was great to have.
Fred was
with the Hornets for so long.
An incredible guy, man. An absolutely incredible man, and his family. You know, they're staples in the community. You know, he's done a lot for Charlotte. Yeah, by way of Greensboro.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's been a godsend for both places.
Yeah.
So I know you have a lot of things going, but what's your primary focus is now?
Well, Vice President of Player Development and Programs here for the Miami Heat. That's my primary job. But, you know, I have some businesses outside of that. I understood the importance of safe, clean homes. Because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Ms. 3 didn't offer me that, then I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. So I developed affordable housing. And I have 7 projects that I've built currently in the state of Florida.
Wow.
And then I have 3 that are in development now. Yeah. So I got 10 total in my portfolio. I'm also in the tech business, IT solutions, software, securities, and network monitoring systems, digital signage, access point switches, all of that stuff. Been partners doing some consulting work with IT for quite some time now. A company called Accordis Technology Solutions. And then I'm a consultant for an insurance company as well. And I got a huge foundation. Yeah, so...
That sounds like about 6 jobs.
Yeah. A foundation that has grown tremendously.
What do you concentrate on with your foundation?
All education and holistic services provided to children and families in the inner city. And, we got an $8 million budget, and so just raising money is the task and identifying the right who to continue to run the program and sustain the work that we're doing, So that's a job in itself. So. But it's rewarding, to see the kids that have gone through my program. We got a 100% high school graduation rate. In the inner city area, we got a $22 million, 56,000 square feet facility with 14 classrooms, charter school, 2 technology centers, dance studio, music studio, mental health and wellness component to it. It's a huge facility, but it's almost like a JCC type of model, but for African Americans. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely impactful for the community and very fortunate. But everybody's welcome. We have white, Hispanic, Haitian in the facility as well. And
is that in South Florida?
It's right here. It's probably about 5 minutes away from here.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's just right in the area called Overtown. The history of
I know Overtown.
History of Overtown. Yeah, it's just a very vibrant place. It used to be a folk life village where black folks that used to come here to Miami, that's where they used to reside back in the 50s and the 60s. And they had their own cleaners over there, restaurants and hotels and churches, and it was pretty vibrant, historically vibrant area because of the likes of Muhammad Ali, Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, all these, historical icons used to reside there. And then all the entertainers used to perform at the Fountain Blue.
Right.
Over the bridge.
But you
needed
Miami
a pass.
Beach.
If you were somebody of color, you needed a pass to go over the bridge to perform at those hotels over there, So it's incredible, the history here in Miami, but it's changed a lot, obviously, and now we're probably, this town is probably, the cost of living has increased 20 to 30, close to 30%. More here than anywhere else in the country. Yeah. So it's very expensive, but you save on state tax.
That's true. Well, you don't have to pay Florida state tax, but you do pay toll roads. We drove on a couple today, I think.
Yeah, they get you.
Last thing I'll ask you, Zoe, is just sort of what is Alonzo Mourning's key to success in life?
You know what? Give it back, man. We're here to serve and not to be served. Everybody waiting around, what are you going to do for me? No, what are you doing to help make life better for somebody else? And you don't have to have a lot to do it. It's your time, showing love and support. If you have money or, things that you want to donate to make an impact, or you can be of a positive influence to a child. Because I look at kids as messengers to a future that we won't see, so whatever seeds you plant in them, that's why when I think about the hate and the persecution and that's going on in this world, all of that is, the origin of that comes from another person, and they're teaching these people how to think that way, So that's why it disappoints me when I see our leadership, and I'm not mentioning any names, when I see our leadership talk about violence and hate, and dislike and what have you, and using this for an example, when I came here, we were playing in the old arena. And it was about 5 blocks from here, closer to the Overtown. I just signed a $100 million contract. And I had to drive through Overtown at that particular time to get to work. And I would see the deplorable conditions. And I would see, the trash in the streets. I would see, I educated myself on the statistics in that community, the drug abuse, the violence. 2 out of 12 kids graduated from high school. And I said, enough. I said, I'm not going to sit here in this town, make this place my home, and sit there and look at that and not do anything about it, So, again, the example is, until you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at will never change. So the way I looked at it, I said, I have to be an active participant and be a beacon of light for this community. I got to help change the narrative. And now we got a $22 million, 56,000 square feet facility in that community that's providing services free of charge for children and families in that community, So to answer your question, to bring it all back to full circle, in order for us to make a difference, we got to serve. We got to try to make life better for somebody else, because they won't forget that, and then they'll do it for somebody else, and then they won't forget it and do it for somebody else. Not everybody has that mentality, but you can help them develop that mentality through the kindness of your heart and the love that you may show to them, because I think that has been the difference maker with the momentum we created with our foundation. The 20 years, graduating 100% of our kids from high school, close to 90% of our kids going to college and graduating, all of these things, are something that have made me proud, but it's just so rewarding to know that these kids are going to go out and they're going to serve just because we have prepared them to do so. So that's the difference maker right there, being servants.
Well put. Alonzo Mourning, it's been a pleasure to have you on Sports Legends.
Right, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm Scott Fowler. That's Sports Legends of the Carolinas. Thanks so much for listening to Sports Legends of the Carolinas, a production of the Charlotte Observer. This show is produced by Lume Ali Sally, Jeff Seiner, and Cotta Stevens. The sports editor of the Charlotte Observer is Lydia Craver. The executive editor is Raina Cash. If you know a sports fan, we've got a great gift idea for you. We've compiled the first 2 seasons of the Sports Legends interviews into a coffee table book, which includes more than 100 rare photos. Among the 33 legends in the book are Steph Curry, Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Spurrier, Jake Delhomme, and Dawn Staley. The first printing sold out quickly, but the book is back in stock now, and you can order a copy at sportslegendsbook.com. For lots more sports content, please visit charlotteobserver.com and consider a digital subscription. You can connect with me, Scott Fowler, by email at sfowler@charlotteobserver.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review the Sports Legends of the Carolinas podcast. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll see you next time.